Okay, so what is the internet? I'm sure you can find on Google, if you search for it, a lot of definition about the internet. But in simple terms, for us, regular people, internet means a connection between multiple devices. Think about it like web of spider web, where each point is a device. So all the devices, phones, tablets, satellites, your laptop, desktop computers, you name it, your watch, smartwatch, your smart TV, all of them communicate with other devices. So all of these devices together, their communication between them actually means the internet. Now that we understand a little bit what the internet is, let's find out who invented it. So the internet was invented by the US military in 1970s, if I'm not mistaken. And the reason for this invention was that the US military needed a way to communicate during a nuclear war. So back then, usually communication was done by wire. So there are a lot of wires underground between different places. There were nodes. If you remember in the movies, when somebody was calling from one city to another and somebody was moving in different jacks of cables and connecting to the other person in order to talk. So imagine if one of those nodes was destroyed, a lot of communication between entities will no longer exist. So they needed a way to bypass this type of situation, to solve this type of problem. So here comes the internet. Okay, so how exactly did the internet solve the problem? Now imagine, let's say, you want to speak with somebody on the other side of the country. So what they did, they created a lot of cables that went through different places, different cities, different routes, and so on and so forth. So even if, let's say, one of the cables or multiple cables were destroyed, they would be able to use the other remaining cables. But the problem was that you don't know what cable was destroyed, what cable is not working anymore. So here comes a very handy device called the router. So what this device did was always looking at all these connections, all these cables, and see which one of them still works. So having this router invented and the concept represents the basis of internet infrastructure. In time, more money was invested in this technology and was expanded, and a lot of more devices were added to the infrastructure. We added radio towers, we added satellites, but basically they do the same thing. Instead of wires, we have satellites communicating with radio signals, and so on and so forth. Also, when we grew the internet infrastructure, we wanted to communicate with Europe, so we needed to add cables under the ocean in order to communicate. We also have satellites that do that. So what we are doing, we have multiple ways of communicating between different devices. And in this infrastructure, we added more and more devices like phones, tablets, laptops, computers, and so on. Everything that I'm explaining to you, it's very simplistic, but I want you to get the general idea what the internet is and how it works, because it will be relevant in our future lessons.